This is James Helder. Welcome to Full Court Football 24. We're in the 2010 club today in Mitcham. Quite privileged to be joined by former Premier League star, none other than Marcus Bent. Marcus, great to meet you, champ. How are you?
And you, James? I'm good, thank you.
Good. I want to look back on your career. It's been a very interesting journey. Only man to play for 8 Premier League clubs. You hold the record.
I do. I'm called the journeyman. Never wanted to. Well, I mean, when you're growing up and you're wherever you live in, and I got brought up in a council estate, so I remember watching Liverpool. Everton fans won't like this, but I watched the likes of John Barnes, Peter Beardsley, etc. I was running at the time. I was running for Linford Christie Stadium. I wasn't really into football. So anyway, one Sunday, we're going to Nan's house, Grand's house, and it was a Sunday, so I'm watching Liverpool. I think it was against, I'm not sure, let's say Everton. And John Barnes, Peter Beardsley, they had the diamond formation. I just got drawn to it, not because of the money, not because of the fame. It was just exciting to me. So I was quick, I was raw, I liked football. So the next day, my old man said, "Okay, let's go down and put you into a club and see where you go from there." It kind of just went from top to top.
So you was playing grass level football at Hammersmith then, where you're from?
I was, yes. Shepherd's Bush, that's where I was brought up. Lily Wreck. Lily Wreck was by just in between Hammersmith and Fulham. So we used to play 5-a-side, and it was for an Irish team. An Irish father lived on our estate, and he drew me into his team, and it just went from strength to strength, to be honest with you. I enjoyed it, I loved it, I was passionate about it. Again, it wasn't about money or success or fame or anything like that. It was just, I was passionate about it.
Did you know from an early age that you stood out at football? It was something that you were naturally gifted at?
Again, I try not to be arrogant. I try not to have a chip on my shoulder. I try not to be too confident. But yes, yes, I did. I scored goals. I was quick. I was fast. I was raw. But every time I'd turn up or didn't turn up because my old man would ground me or or not want to take me down to the Lily Wreck. I used to get upset. So my old man made a commitment to take me down every Sunday. So I got passionate about it. So it was, yeah.
Being quite a hot prospect on the sort of the youth football scene then, you was known as Marcus Leckie as well. Can you explain to us why the name change?
I was known as Marcus Leckie because that was my mum's name, my mum's side of the family's name. I then got christened and my dad gave me Bent. But at school, in them days, Neanderthal, it was hard. I mean, it was hard to...
What do you mean, hard?
Well, I think the name Bent, in them days, with... Go back.
So it was like, you think there was like a stigma attached to that?
I think there was a stigma. I think there was a stigma. Gay people, bi people, whatever you want to call it. I don't think people realised that or justified that. So it was kind of back, and Leckie was my name. I never got bullied. I was never a follower, but it got to the point where I got seen. Brentford took me on, and my name Bent then became the name, which I'm really proud of, and I've earned the name. And it's my dad's name, it's my family name. So I'm very proud of the name Bent.
Talk us through that process coming through the Brentford Academy. How did you make that transition from youth team player to first team player, and what happened sort of in between that?
Well, again, I think it was quite quick. I was quite privileged, I was quite talented, but I was raw. There was a guy called Carl Hutchins who was Brentford's special kid, superhero, whatever you want to call it, and they found me, and literally they asked him to put me under his wing. So he literally just showed me the ropes. I was outspoken. I was. I said things I shouldn't have done in the presence of professional footballers. I kind of got there quite quick. I was there. I played with the main side, the first team, at the age of 16. I was in the youth team at 15 actually. I was in the first team at 16 and a half with a professional contract.
That's incredible.
It is, but I don't see it like that. It was just my transition, and don't get me wrong, it is. And I look back now, and thank you for saying that. If I look back, it is something that I'm very proud of. But
how did you handle it coming into such a sort of a physical league, if you like, and such big men in that team, and such physicality, such big players, old school mentality? How did you handle that as a 16?
I think as yourself, talking to you before we just started chatting or getting onto the camera, I think where you're brought up, how you're brought up, again, like I've said to a few of your colleagues, my old man used to say to me, man up, basically meaning man up, you need to go out into the big world and show yourself. Give everything you've got and show what you've got. I wasn't afraid of anything. I wasn't scared of anything. One thing I was scared of is leaving my family, leaving my hub, my circle of friends, my family. But I needed to man up and go out there and get my family out of this council estate, get my family out of this circle of,
David Webb decided to give you your debut for the first team in the 95-96 season.
Mm-hmm.
Can you remember how that conversation went that you was going to get a chance in the first team?
I was literally playing for the youth team. I then got transitioned to the reserves, so I was playing reserve team football alongside the older guys, the professional guys. I still hadn't got my contract. I still had a year being a YTS. Sweeping the stands, cleaning boots,
proper old school,
cleaning boots. I had 2 pros. I used to make tea for David Webb, the manager and the youth team coach. I was fortunate, and don't get me wrong, there is luck in certain situations. There is luck in life, but you make your own luck. You've got to strive. You've got to get up at a certain time. You've got to work hard, and. He came into the changing rooms, my youth team manager, and he said, you're being called up to the first team tomorrow. This was on a Friday. I was 16.
Wow.
16 I was. Scary? Yeah. Was I excited? Hell yeah. But I just took it on board. I got man in the match. I think at that point I scored a hat-trick that day. And that's when I knew I could hold it with the big boys. I think maybe I was a little bit outspoken at that point, as you are when you're trying to make your way. But I learned, and they kind of made me find out. I think there was one situation we were doing pre-season, and we were doing 800 metres, and it was cold at that point, and I was out running ahead of them, and they said, if you carry on running too far, we're going to strip you down and put you in your pants.
Was that because you're making the senior players look bad? They're coming back
basically
They're not 100% fit yet.
Well, not 100% fit, but because I was so young and so focused and so outspoken, they were just trying to kind of pound me down, just trying to give me some experience and trying to give me the way to go, actually. So, yeah.
Do you think that was important to your grounding as a footballer?
Oh, definitely.
That start in League Two, coming through and having them,
yeah,
them experiences.
I mean, I got scouted by Arsenal, Chelsea, Wimbledon, the lot. I could at West Ham. I could have gone to those sides. Maybe it would have been a better choice, but I was at home. I was with my family. I was comfortable, and Brentford were giving me the chance to actually do something in my life and make some money, I suppose. But the players around me, actually, when they got to know me properly, helped me along the way with their experience as well.
You was a key part of the team the next season that reached the playoffs. What was it like being an established first-team player? How did that sort of work?
Oh, wow. Bob Taylor, Nicky Foster, Carlos Saba, Carl Hutchins. I think as a kid, a quick transition, and my transition was quite quick. I used to have my younger teammates or that hadn't made it behind me. We'd go out for drinks and how's it going, etc., etc. But I didn't see it like that. But I think maybe I got carried away. I don't think I shouldn't say get carried away, but I got excited about where it could go, my future, if I could progress.
Do you think you were believing your own hype a little bit?
Believing my own hype? I've always believed my own hype. I think without being confident within yourself, I don't think you're going to make any strides or move on within your career. Again, as I speak to people that I train or youngsters that I know or my daughter or my family, be humble, be strong, but always don't put people down.
You can talk us through that season a little bit. I mean, getting to the playoffs and the teams that you beat on the way. It must have been a fantastic season for the club.
No, it was. We didn't get first or second place, so basically playoffs was about. So we had to play against Bristol in the playoffs. So we beat Bristol at home and we beat Bristol away. I scored in both playoff games, and then we was at Wembley at a young age. I think I was then 17. So we got to Wembley with the likes of big players, and I remember walking out into Wembley, old Wembley, and the wooden seats, and thinking this is not too bad, and then going back into the change rooms. Once we came back out, the stadium was a little bit more full, so it got a little bit more closed. I was scared. Never been there before in my life. I'm confident. I keep saying the word arrogant. I'm not arrogant. But I think with a profession or just being someone that's trying to strive for something, I think you need to have that little bit of chip on your shoulder just to move forward. But anyway, came out and the crowd and the stadium just got smaller. I had the worst game in my life. We lost the Crew, so we didn't go out that season.
What goes through your mind when you've not taken a chance, if you like, when you've had a bad game in such a big day and such a big moment for yourself?
What goes through my mind? You can't take it too personally because you need to move forward and get on with your game and be professional and try and take the next chance. But once you get home or once you've been away, I mean, some of the journeys might be 3 or 4 hours on a bus. It wasn't till later on in my career which we got planes to different vacations or stadiums. So we'd spend 5 hours on a coach. So 5 hours on a coach hadn't lost, then you got your thoughts in your mind and you're breaking it down and you get, I'm not going to say get depressed. I think you suppress stuff. You have to put it to the back of your mind. But as I got older, maturer.
Was you still there when David Webb left the club and sort of Eddie May come in, or was that the process where sort of Crystal Palace were in talks with yourself?
Well, Tony Adams came in. Sorry, not Tony Adams. Bloody hell.
Mickey Adams.
Mickey Adams, sorry, my bad. Mickey Adams came in at the end of the season and he wanted me to stay. But the lights, the fantasy, the Premiership was calling. Again, it was quite intriguing or quite exciting because I was quite raw. I was raw. I'd done well that season, but didn't do well at Wembley. But they took a chance on me. I think they bought me for 300.
300k, Steve Coppell.
Steve Coppell.
Yeah.
300k, Steve Coppell. Again, we're in Mitcham. So this is where the first training ground was. And done my medical. It was 2 days of medicals. I had my heart looked at, I had my head looked at, my eyes, the lot.
That sounds like a heavy-duty medical.
It was. No, it was. I mean, I've been through medicals, again, traveller, certain amount of clubs, but that was intense medical. And if you know Wimbledon, there's hospitals all the way along to go to the high street. So we literally went every hospital along the way. Anyway, I passed. So I met the likes of Bruce Dyer, Matt Jansen, Tilio Lombardo. I mean,
what a player he was, by the way, Lombardo.
Oh my God! I mean, I used to get in, and he would be in there probably 2 hours before everyone else, working on his calves, his hamstrings, his body. And at that time, he wasn't young.
I was going to say, he never looked young.
No, he never looked young. He was always receding. Yeah. But what a player! What a player! Sasha Churchitt. You know, these were players that I looked up to. These were players that I wanted to play alongside. Yeah. It was scary, really scary. I'm going to say one thing because I like to banter him about this. Clinton Morrison was my boot boy at the time when I got there.
Really?
Yeah, I'm going to say that. He'll probably hate me for it, but I always say it.
What's it like going to a club when they've signed you? You've not come through you're actually the man that they wanted, and you're the player that.
Well, again, it was my first signing, so I've never done it before. It was scary. I mean, a new club, new faces, new personnel, new manager. Fans don't know what to expect from you, but they can see that you've done well. So it was nerve-wracking, but again, with my confidence, and I feel like I had ability in that point, and I wanted to progress myself and achieve something. It wasn't that scary, but I think as you can see, or if you want to look at my career at Crystal Palace, I got there and I hit the ground running, basically. I was scoring goals. We did go down that season, but it was nice to play along.
You scored big goals at Stamford Bridge that year.
I did.
Big goal at Anfield as well.
I did.
Key moments.
Yep.
You was fighting for survival and
yes.
probably putting the ball in the net that year.
Yeah. I was a forward, but stroke winger. So I would kind of float.
So was you playing anywhere across the front line for them then, depending on who you're playing?
Basically, yeah. Basically. But in them days, I think 4-4-2 was the one. We were sharing ground sharing with Wimbledon. Wimbledon lost their ground at the time, and I remember playing. So basically, it was Wimbledon's time to be at home. So we was an away team.
That must have been proper weird.
Very weird.
Being an away team in your own ground.
Exactly. But the likes of Vinnie Jones and standing next to you, and don't get me wrong, they were scary. You know, Vinnie Jones shouting whilst I'm kind of a young kid at. I think at the age of, I was 18, 19.
Would that have been the full-on Crazy Gang as well?
Crazy Gang.
So Fashanu.
Yeah. Ben Thatcher.
Wally Downs.
Yeah. These are players that don't mess about.
Players.
But don't get me wrong, technical players, good players. Problem being is that their fashion, their way of playing was Crazy Gang way. Bully people, get them into your stadium, get them into your environment, and then they would try and beat you.
I bet they must have been having a field day being sort of the home team at your stadium. I bet that gave them a little bit to sort of wind you guys up with.
Well, there you go. That's what I'm trying to say. As we walked out the away dressing room at our home stadium, Vinnie Jones is shouting. Ben Thatcher's behind me. Good mate of mine, actually.
Some player, Thatcher, by the way.
Yes, he is. Very underrated. But a good left foot. Good player. Don't get me wrong, he's made some tackles.
What was Vinnie saying? Tell us.
I couldn't say it on camera, to be honest with you. I think I'd get arrested. But it was scary. I think we lost 1-0 that day. But again, it gives you that transition, it gives you that learning curve, it gives you the maturity to go on, not just football, but throughout your life and progress, I suppose.
Interesting time in Crystal Palace's history as well. Obviously, with them going down and Terry Venables joining the club,
yep.
Straight after Euro 96 as well. He
yep.
would have been probably one of the hottest management properties around.
Sure. How did
that sort of happen, and what was it like watching it firsthand and being inside it?
It was. Do you know what? I'm angry. I'm going to be honest, and I'm always honest. And I think this is why you wanted me to come on and talk, because I'm very honest, and I'm always. I tell the truth. I like to. I'm not going to dig anyone out, but throughout my career, I've always tried to tell it the right way. Off the back of us going down and me being at Crystal Palace, taking that transition from Brentford to Crystal Palace, I then got England under 21s.
Was that during the time at Palace?
During my time at Palace, my first year at Palace. So then I went to Toulon, which is in France. My roommate was Emil Heskey, which was daunting. I remember walking in the room and seeing his big ass back, excuse my language. I had a hernia at the time. I had a hernia halfway through the season, and then England under 21s called upon me, and I had to go. I couldn't have the operation, so I went. It was fine. I think I made 2 caps alongside people like Carragher, Jody Morris, Emil Heskey, a number of people. I think Rio moved to the first team at that point, but there was a good cluster of players. Got back from there, buzzing, had my operation done. It went really well, but Venables came in, and at the time he'd been at Australia international. He then brought a lot of international players through from Australia. Why? I don't know. I'm not even going to go into it, but it wasn't right.
Well, you think the players weren't good enough then, that came in?
No, I'm not going to disrespect the players. I'm not going to go there. I just feel like on my journey, on my transition, I feel like I should have got a better chance of playing for Crystal Palace and moving forward. I then started playing for the reserve team. Groin still wasn't good.
So was you training with the first team or with the reserve team?
No, so basically when you're a pro and you've got a selected number of people, you're sub but I wasn't the first 11, which frustrated me. It angered me. I felt like I should be part of the team. It got to the point where I just got really frustrated and I needed to move on.
Did you speak to Terry Venables about it? Was it a conversation that was had between you two?
At the time, I was so young and frustrated, angry. I just wanted to move on, whether it be me go to another club or them loaning me out, sort of thing. So,
Crystal Palace went into administration. For whatever reason, you were then sold to Port Vale for 300k. Mm-hmm. Interesting move in itself. How did you feel about that?
Again, angry. Because of them going into administration and them not doing so well, and the manager coming in. Don't get me wrong, he's a great manager. I think he went through his dad dying that year. He had a few family issues as well. But that's not for me to touch on. But my journey was somewhere else. I don't want to be disrespectful to Port Vale, but it's not the move I wanted, but it was the move that was a stepping stone.
Maybe the move that you needed.
I needed to get myself back on track. I was a big signing for them. They spent a lot of money on me, big wages. Didn't do too well.
What's it like when you go into a dressing room when you're potentially on a lot more money than all the other lads, all the other established players? How does that?
Well, again, as I said before, moving from Brentford to Crystal Palace was my first move. I then got a little bit of experience playing in the Premiership, so I felt like I was, I shouldn't say I felt like I was better than any of the players at Port Vale. I felt like I had the experience to come in and maybe do something and help Port Vale and myself get to the next level. Didn't quite work out like that. It was hard because, again, leaving family, going to another team, expectation.
Port Vale's long-term standing manager John Rudge signed you. What was John Rudge like?
John Rudge he's a great manager. Was a great manager. He pulled me in and he talks to you. He doesn't just manage on your career or your goals. He manages you on your personality. So he pull you aside and just talk to you basically. And knowing that I've come from London at a young age. He was great at that point. I think it was getting to the point where he had one season left, and if he didn't do anything, then another manager would come in. So it was
Do you think he was under pressure from the chairman?
I think he was under pressure himself. So his frustrations would come out as well. But never out on me, although I didn't score goals. I wasn't achieving anything. I was homesick. I was scared. I was earning a lot of money, driving a relatively nice car in them days. I didn't have a home at the time. I was living in a hotel. But I think I scored 1 goal that season, the whole season. So the expectation on a young head, I didn't know how to deal with that. So then Mickey Adams came in.
So this will be the second time.
Second time.
You're working with him.
Second time. Mickey Adams is a hard guy, short guy, small man mentality. He'd run you.
Is he just angry all the time, though?
Well, I'm not going to say that because he'd probably have a go at me. I love Mickey. He's a good man. But he will tell you the truth. He will tell you what it's about, and he will get you to play and do the things that you need to do. A little bit like David Webb, actually. So we got to pre-season, and I just literally focused on running hard. You go to every cone, you go to every corner, and you do the right things. And that's what I'd done that pre-season, and I got my confidence back up, got my fitness back up. And then Sheffield United came in, pre-season. Jumped it.
Were they in the same division, Sheffield United?
No. First division.
First division,
yeah. And Sheffield United, huge club, Sheffield Wednesday, Sheffield United. So I had to move even further up north, and I hit the ground running.
You was on fire that season.
Yes, I was. I'm going to say that, yes, I was. Yes, I was. I got there, and the love for me was great. The expectation was great. But again, going through that transition from Crystal Palace to Port Vale, I'm learning now. I'm getting it.
Getting used to
I'm
medicals
getting
as well.
used to it, medicals as well, I'm knowing how to talk. I'm knowing how to hold myself. I'm maturing as an adult, maturing as a player. So got there and, hit the ground running.
Scored a hat-trick against Man City as well that season. Mm-hmm. Firing on all cylinders. Do you credit the management work of sort of Adrian Heath with bringing the best out of you?
Adrian Heath was under pressure as well. Big pressure when I got there. I think I was his last hope, and we got in there. Don't get me wrong, I don't think it went. I hit the ground running, but it didn't go as well as it should have gone. Then the board, then the fans were calling for Adrian's management, but he was a good manager. Again, like-minded with the likes of managers that talk to you with your personality and stuff. Then Neil Warnock coming. What a character.
Wow.
What a character.
Neil Warnock, we could have a whole episode just on him. What was he like to work with?
Neil was a different level. He was a different sort of manager. I think it was probably his best achievement at that time, in a sense. I can't remember where he came from, but he came in, he was very confident. He used to give us days off, or he would manage your personality as well. So basically, I'm doing well. He'd say, you're doing well, so there's 2 days for you, 2 days off. Certain players would get 1 day off, or wouldn't get a day off. But he was always good with holidays and taking us away. He was just one of the boys, I think. He literally just came in and just said, listen, we're all a team. I'm your manager. Respect me, I'll respect you, basically.
Is there one instance you can remember his team talk or the passion he had for that moment in time?
I don't know whether I can talk on that.
Watching him from the outside in, he seems like a character. He must love to be a fly on the wall sometimes.
Again, I'm a person that what's in Vegas stays in Vegas, in a sense. I'll try and give you something. I remember one game. All right, I'm going to give you this. I remember one game. I think it was a night game, rainy game. Paul Devlin was playing on the right. Paul Devlin was from Birmingham, fiery character, small guy as well. And I'd get the ball, hold it up, turn, play it out to him. He'd cross the ball, I'd score. It was just, that's what we did. Paul played me a ball. I think it came short, both fiery characters, and he addressed me on the pitch. We go into the change rooms at half time. I don't think we're losing, but it's wasn't the best scenario. I don't think we were doing too well. So I addressed it by walking up to Dev and speaking to Paul Devlin. Let's just say it didn't go too well. We're still friends now, but at that point we weren't friends. There was arms in arms, and then Neil Warnock pulls me aside. He pulls me into the office, and he says, "Listen, stop getting frustrated. Paul's frustrated as well. You're both teammates. Go out there and win the game." I think we won the game. And it was just about his management, just the way he kind of portrayed it. And another manager would literally have taken you off or fined you for us being aggressive towards each other, teammates. But I think what people don't understand, or I hope they understand, is that frustration between teammates doesn't mean that you're a bad person. It just means that you want to win and you care for each other. And I think Neil put it in his book about the situation. I've never addressed it, never spoke to him about it, but I'm putting it out there. So I understand why you done it, but it was a situation, it was a factor, it was a boxer, an athlete, a footballer getting frustrated and trying to win the game, basically.
Do you think his man management was a bit underrated? Do you think that's something that people sort of...
I don't think they saw his man management, or sorry, not his man manager. I don't think they saw his man management skills as a good thing at that time. Again, Neil was the gaffer. I'm going to call him gaffer because I love him like that. He just put confidence into me. But it got to the point where I was on fire. I was doing really well. Probably got a little bit too confident at times. Wasn't scoring towards the back end of the season. He told me he was going to drop me a couple of times. Didn't. But that's when Graeme Souness, Blackburn, came in.
What was it like then, dealing with Graeme Souness and trying to get that move to Blackburn finalised?
Smile on my face. Literally, you can see me smiling now. Again, not smiling because I wanted to leave Sheffield. Just smiling because I'd been seen as a top-level player. Don't get me wrong, Blackburn was still in the first division themselves, trying to get promoted. But at Blackburn, at that time, you had David Dunn, David Duff, Matt Jansen.
As a striker, you're just thinking, I'm going to score goals in this team.
The Mark Hughes, Nathan Blake. I could go on, like the Brad Friedel goalkeeper. I remember turning up. So anyway, this before I get to the training ground, I literally went into the Sheffield United Stadium and said goodbye. I cried.
You really liked being at Sheffield?
Yeah, I loved it. I was doted on. I was loved. I'd done well for them. I wanted to do so much more for them, but again, needed to take my success and my career to the next level. So, yeah.
How did the conversation go with Graeme Souness, and what was the first impression like?
First question was, do you want to come to Blackburn? I said, who's this? He said, Graeme. I said, Graeme who? He said, Graeme Souness. I went, okay. I said, of course I do. He said, I'll see you in the morning. That's how it works. Literally packed my stuff up. Said I went literally to the stadium. I spoke to Neil. Neil said, we're going to let you go to Blackburn. Good luck and thank you for your services, and we'll see you soon. Yeah, I went and looked around the stadium, said goodbye, and then off I went.
Interesting place, like you mentioned, the team's full of stars. Did you see this as a chance to put yourself back in contention, if you like, and back in the shop window for that international call up and stuff?
Well, I was always progressing. It just after Crystal Palace, it got slow. It was slow. Port Vale, it was slow, and then Sheffield United. I knew it was going to go further. Blackburn. Once I got to Blackburn, I knew where to go, and how to deal with it. Again, maturer, a bit more of a professional, have more say in a dressing room, not just that kid that's raw and come up from Brentford, you know. But again, I had to prove myself at Blackburn.
How much did it help you that your first goal for Blackburn was against their arch rivals Burnley at Turf Moor?
It was awesome.
How much did that help?
Yeah, it was awesome. It was awesome. So I think we won 2-1, 2-0, something like that. And yeah, I scored. So I'm written in history when it comes to debuts and playing against Burnley, but then Preston as well are there as well. So that was easy. Well, it wasn't easy, but it was good to just get off my chest and show the fans that I am a good player and I can play in this side full of the likes of Manchester United legends, Mark Hughes, Brad Friedel, again. Matt Jansen was at Crystal Palace at the time, and then he was at Blackburn. Damien Duff, who was at Chelsea. Dunny. Good young up and coming players that I could get amongst it. It was a dream come true at that point.
What was Graeme Souness like as a manager and as a coach?
People say to me, how was Graeme Souness? He was a fiery manager.
Never guessed that.
Lord, he was fiery. But I think there was a transition where he was very fiery, but then he had health issues, and he had to calm down. I got asked a question at Sheffield United, Liverpool. I was doing commentating last weekend. Who's your best manager? I said Graeme Souness. I've always said it. People kind of turn their noses up at it, but for my own transition, he taught me how to go back to basics, how to play in the Premiership. I think what kids or players sometimes nowadays do is think about the skills before they pass a ball or trap a ball or score a goal. It's just going back to basics and doing the right thing at the right time. And then once you want to be flamboyant, once we're ahead, that's when you can show your true skills, show your rawness, show your maturity. So he showed me that, and he was honest, always honest. He sold me. He brought in Andy Cole.
Was it heartbreaking for you after smashing the Championship not to get a chance at the Premier League with that squad?
Again. How do I say it?
Be honest.
Yeah, I wanted to grab him. But I had so much respect for him. And he always told me the right way. He put me in the right direction. He literally said, your journey is not here. We want to bring in Andy Cole. And we can't bring Andy Cole in without you going to Ipswich. Ipswich were in the they done well the season before, so he was in the UEFA Cup. So that's another transition for me. That's an amazing step for me as well. And I would go in there as top boy again. So I said, all right, boss. Can I not stay? This is what I literally said to him. Can I not stay and fight for my place? He said, no, son. This is what you've got to do. Shook his hand. Wasn't happy with him, but I respect him for it. He was honest with me.